I have a soft spot for Haz mainly because Muslims have never ever gave me shit ever. They've for the most part have left me alone
I
and
love
never
Muslims.
harassed me.
I love Muslims. Muslims are the best. Muslims are some of the my best. Some of my best subscribers are Muslims, and I love it when they come on. They've come on during streams where I talk about Judaism, and like ever say, to me, it's evident from the start, from the day Muhammad protected us in the Charter of Medina, like that Muslims and Jews have had this deep understanding between each other and tolerance. Our golden ages in Al Andalus were under the Muslim caliphate in Spain. Like Christians love to fucking persecute us, pogrom us. Muslims never did that. Of course, there were crimes under our oppression, but that was not due to them being Muslim, but just oppressors. For the most part, Muslims have always been the kindest people to Jews, and so Muslims have just a way of seeing the world that's so empathetic and humane. Like it's this way of seeing the world, like where they genuinely are concerned for the material things being better around them. It's very practice based faith, a lot like Judaism. It's less about belief, of course, believing in the prophet and the oneness of God and everything, but mostly it's about what you do, which is what I love so much about Islam. It's a beautiful faith, and all of its different denominations and stuff. It's very beautiful faith.
Well, Islam is one of the reasons why I'm at least when I actually learned more what Islam was. I don't know more than an actual Muslim, mind you.
Oh
It
no, yeah.
I will never know more, but it's one of the reasons I'm turned off by atheism. I know new atheism is what I'm going to mainly be referring to, but atheism as a whole, I'm completely turned off by it because of how because
Yeah.
I just see atheism. I know this is not going to make people happy. I see atheism, at least as in America, especially in is another form of white supremacy.
Yeah, first world atheism is just white supremacy. Now, the atheism of, say, someone from the Indian subcontinent or Africa is of a completely different nature, because faiths in their societies, um, of course, used in a domineering control and in a different way, and we have to respect that about them. But also, we have to respect the faiths of people because people always love to misquote, or not misquote, but cherry pick Marx saying that religion is the opium of the masses. First of all, that just means it's like medicine for those who are hurt. Opium was a medicine back then, not like an abused drug. And also, the rest of it goes on to say how religion is the cry of the soul in a soul crushing world. Like it's a reprieve from this soul crushing, alienating system we live under. And atheism is, first of all, it's intellectually dishonest to say there is no God. You're a fucking idiot if you say that.
Well,
Um,
there's no okay. So I don't know where I believe in honestly, but I'll say this: there's no fucking proof one way or the other, and I think it's nothing but stupid, childish nonsense debating the matter.
you know, I would challenge the fact that there's no proof. Just because there's no empirical evidence doesn't mean there isn't proof and evidence.
Well, there's no. I look at it as there's no evidence one way or the other, and it's a waste of time
It's
debating.
hardly a waste of time. It's a very important question, but I don't think it's a question for politics, and I don't think it's a question for. Uh, I don't think it's a. I don't think it's. I think it's a. It's a in your own community discussion, not something that should be. You should be going into other communities, whether religious or not, and trying to promote one position or the other. Like you said, it's just
Because
uh,
think
I believe
about
faith is personal. I believe faith is personal unless it's a fundamental part or cornerstone to an oppressed society's liberation. I think the faith is a very personal thing, at least in the Western context. and that me trying to convince you that God exists, my version of God exists, and that you should believe in my faith is a sin. So, like, for me, it doesn't matter. There is no hell. You're not going to go to hell. I don't believe there's hell. Most Jews don't. That's still a debate. Even heaven's a debate amongst Jews, but that we do not believe there is eternal punishment for a short lifetime of sin. A lifetime of sin, life is short in the context of eternity. And we do not believe that a short lifetime warrants forever punishment. I think that that's frankly ridiculous.
Well, I'm simply not sure if there is one or not, and that's just
fair.
where I stand.
That's
I'm
honest.
not sure.
That's an intellectually honest position. I never say that. I mean, I believe in all my heart that there is God, but I mean, I'm not going to be able to fucking produce anything to back that up outside of our own community's religious documents. So yeah.
The thing about atheists in the first world is they're very hypocritical, and here's why. If they truly were an atheist, why the fuck are they working with Christian extremists and Zionists? Why? if they don't, I don't think atheists believe in their own bullshit.
No, they don't. They don't buy their own horse shit. It's just really lazy empiricism. Empiricism's like this old 1700s way of fucking seeing the world. It's lazy and it's goofy, and it's not useful.
The best atheists are the ones that don't make atheism as part of their identity.
Oh yeah, the atheists are the ones who just don't generally talk about it unless prompted, unless it's a part of some sort of educational thing. Or
look at Stalin. Stalin is possibly one of the greatest atheists that have ever lived, yet he never made that part of his identity.
You want to hear a funny anecdote? His mother would call him when he was the general secretary. She would call him in Moscow, and she would say, "Joseph, you should have became a member of the church. You should have became a member of the church." So he's like, "Mom, I'm trying to run the country here." And he had a very, very deep connection with the Orthodox Church and very empathetic towards it. And the same with the Jewish faith and the Jewish people. Had a very complex relationship with us. Stalin was a very complicated character, and yes, he was an atheist, but he was not dismissal of religion. He brought orthodoxy. He stopped the state atheism and returned it to state secularism, and sponsored the Orthodox Church. The many people within the Russian Orthodox Church see him as a saint. So he had a very interesting relationship with religion, but I think it was a very clever one. I think it was very well played and very, very dialectical, really, trying to come to some sort of synthesis, right? He understood that orthodoxy was such an important part to Russian culture. It was their uniting force during their years fighting against the Mongols and the Turkic peoples and stuff. So it was important to them. It was this sort of national identity, and that patriotism around that national identity was really essential to establishing unity in the early Soviet state. And it was clever. It was very clever.
Well, that's
and they did the thing with Muslims too. They really did incorporate Islam into their appealing to the Turkic peoples of the steppes. It's very interesting.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The greatest atheists are those who don't focus on fuck religion. They just focus on building a better society.
Yeah. So let me help people understand religion through a Marxist lens. Religion can take on many forms. Its class character is truly based off of where it's sourced from. Like the Southern Black Baptist Church is, I believe, a force for good. because it was the one thing that these people could unite culturally and create music and unite community-wise and defend themselves against racism. And it was a hotbed of desegregation. You know, these Southern Black churches, and this is still a place today where these people gather together. But then you have the normal WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestantism, that is really built into the cultural hegemony of the United States. It's this tool of control and subjugation. And that's there you can see the difference. Really, faith takes on the class character of the state or the community it comes from. And we really need to understand that when we look at religion, you know?
Well, I also view anti-theism also as a form of classism, because think about this. Who are the people that a lot of these atheists are attacking? Poor people.
Yep.
It's mostly poor people.
Or you know, yeah, poor people from the third world too. A lot of Muslims.
It gets even worse when you focus on the third world, what they advocate for. I mean, they're the biggest shields of the genocide that's going on in the Middle East.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. They're disgustingly racist. And then they'll say, "Well, Islam is a religion, not a race." Yeah, but most of the people who follow it are of color. So you're making criticisms of their cultural backgrounds, not of Islam. You're just being a racist.
And I don't like to say this, but there's some truth that atheism has killed like billions. It isn't too far off, honestly.
In what way?
Oh no, okay, maybe not billions, millions. Okay. I mean, think about all these wars that these atheists support, and the Nazis. Were they really a religious movement?
They were esoteric.
They seem to be. If you look at their actions, they seem to be anti-religion more than anything.
They were anti-human, which in turn goes against most religions, which is about like loving thy neighbor and shit.
Yeah.
You know? So they were very anti-human, and that reflected in their weird esoteric neo-paganism. And they had the veneer of Protestant Christianism and anti-Catholicism, just because that was sort of a uniting force in northern Germany, and that's where the bulk of their support was. So yeah.
If you dig further and further into the rabbit hole, a lot of these atheists support eugenics, which is a form of genocide.
Absolutely. And this is just to clarify for people. This isn't like the classic intellectual turned atheist or classic, Marxist during revolutionary times, shrugging off the cultural hegemonic religion in favor of atheism, like someone like Stalin or Lenin or Marx even. This is a different thing. It's almost like shrugging it off for the sake of blood, for the sake of blood. They're like, we can't adhere to this because it says thou shalt not kill. Well, this neo-paganism says that, we should. So let's do that. Because neo-paganism is based off of Christian writings of long-lost stories of cultures. Like, there's no truth to any of these. That's why they call it neo-paganism. Like, they have no roots in their actual history. Unlike, Islam or Judaism or even Christianity. It's really fucked. And that's why you see so many reactionaries coming out of it, because it's just a way for them to use mysticism and esotericism to advocate for violence and hate.
I know my position isn't popular with regarding atheism. It's just as somebody that was a former atheist, I don't know where I stand at this point. I'm so turned off when you know that
just like a run-of-the-mill agnostic to me.
That's probably what I am. It's just
I believe that agnosticism is the most intellectually honest position, even more than mine. Just because saying I don't know is the only really fair thing that you can say. I don't know if it exists or not, intellectually speaking.
It just I cannot bring myself to even take on the label of atheism or atheist, whatever you want to call it, is I know there's good people that are atheists. So I'm not going to say that. So I know a lot of my audience are atheists. You're not bad.
I
I'm
used
not
to be
referring
an atheist.
to.
I used to be an atheist. Now I'm a deeply religious Jew.
So
So yeah.
so I don't think you're bad people. I'm not referring to it. Just based on my personal experience and seeing the fascist undercurrent in the atheist community in the
Mm.
past 10 years has completely turned me off. Like I will never accept atheism as a legitimate ideology. I think it's bullshit. I don't think there is such thing as an atheist.
That's fair enough.
Because these people, what the fuck do you expect to replace the world? What do you expect to replace religion with? Let's say you get what you want. You get rid of all religions. What the fuck do you expect to replace it all with?
They don't understand what it is. They just don't like it because that's the thing. Like, it's a uniting force for many communities and humanity as a whole. Like, we are made up of our traditions. Like, who we are today is made up of everything we've done in the past. And what we should do is be able to synthesize the best of our traditions with historical progress,
Yeah.
and not abandon these things, but uphold these beautiful parts of our history and tradition, and reject the reactionary, horrible, damaging parts of it. And we can be way more nuanced than just throw everything out. No, we should really just try to look deeply and understand where these things come from and how we can make them better, because it is in our hands. Religion is a man-made thing. We don't believe that this world, I mean, me as a Jew, I'm not speaking for all Jews, but I believe our faith is man-made. It's not monolithic. It's a very man-made and thing that has developed over centuries and thousand millennia, actually. And I believe it holds truths, but I believe it holds truths that I'll keep to myself, and I'll let people know if they ask me, but I'm never going to tell anyone otherwise. And people who believe differently than me, they're not condemned to any sort of punishment. We're not any better than you because we believe differently. Actually, on the contrary, we just have a very specific task as the chosen.
Oh yeah,
That's it.
definitely. You are right about that, Louis. You are
Yeah,
definitely right about that, about the
as a
atheist
tool, as a
community
tool.
weaponizing LGBTQ plus.
Yeah, and they weaponized us and also used us in that same realm as, manufacturing consent for imperialism, like they still do it in Iran. Look at these theological people banning LGBT people. Shut the fuck up. Keep your hands off Iran. They've decided their fate. Once imperialism is solved, they can solve their contradictions at home. Right now, they're just trying to survive. So fuck off and leave them alone. Shia, Shia, Shia. Sorry.
What's actually funny is none of these people like pay attention to the anti-LGBTQ, movements and first world fascist countries.
Of course they don't. It's not important to them, because because the fact that they see people of the third world determining their own fate outside of what they see as progressive and correct, then it angers them. It makes them angry. How could these lowly people of color say that I'm wrong about the way that they should do things? This is the way these fucking people think. No, they decided their own fate. Now shut the fuck up and keep your business. Stick with your own fucking business. The only time you should be talking about Iran and these other places is in defense of them against imperialism, not the other way around.
I support Assad and
Me
I
too.
support Iran. They're not socialists. I don't fucking care. I'm an anti-imperialist. I don't care.
I
America
am.
is the literal devil.
I'm a queer trans Jew communist. They wouldn't like me in Iran, but I support them. I support Hezbollah. I support Hamas. These people wouldn't like me. I don't give a fuck. Justice in the primary condition is more important.
Yeah, I mean, just here's the thing: respect is more important than someone liking you, and
Yes,
it's more important.
absolutely. All I ask is to be treated with respect and dignity. I don't demand anything more or less. I just want it to be treated with the same respect and dignity as everyone else, and then we can concentrate on this fucking super fucked issue, which is imperialism. This thing that we should be focusing our efforts on.
Also, it's context. Why would they would feel that way? I mean, they see the West, and they see them weaponizing that against them,
Of
which is
course, they would be skeptical of it.
which gives them even more of a reason to reject it.
Yeah, and and people in different cultures handle this stuff differently. Like China, for example, people would say they're very socially conservative, and I would say they're just more socially private. Things like transgender people have existed in Chinese culture for 4,000 years. They still exist. Some of their most like Jing Xing, who actually inspired me to transition, is a former PLA soldier, ballerina, comedian, TV show host, one of the most popular in China. She's a trans woman. She's awesome. And LGBT people are starting to become more and more recognized. They don't have the right to get married yet, but it's not really a big issue because LGBT people, just like everyone else, people keep their sexuality private. LGBT people has always existed in China. Chinese people, whether it's straight sex, gay sex, whatever sex, they just don't like to fucking talk about it. They like to keep that at home. They're just prude. They're not as sexual as Westerners. They say Americans are so sexual. They always talk about sex and all this stuff. They just don't like to talk about it like we do. It's just different. Oh, well. It's not like they hate LGBT people.
I agree.
I have a friend, very close friend, who's a member of the Ba'athist Party, and he's from Aleppo. And he's been through the whole. He had to quit his study. He just started his studies again a couple of years ago, but he just had gotten to his master's program in 2011. Then the war started. He had to leave his home in Aleppo, and then finally he got to come back. And life is starting to come back to normal. He proudly voted for Assad. Said the National Progressive Front just earned their vote. He actually voted for the Communist Party member who was running in the National Progressive Front in his district. So pretty cool. And he won, the Communist Party member. The Communist Party members always win. They're part of the ruling coalition, but he took videos of the elections and sent them to me. And, I sent him some videos we had over here in the U.S. of the Syrian diaspora voting. And, we saw the result of it. He won in a landslide. It's because Assad earned it. You know what he did? He didn't capitulate to the West. He doubled down and helped defend his country, called solidarity, and took their fate into their own hands. And they are winning the war. And now they just got to get rid of these Turkish proxies in the north, and they've won. The rest of the country is at peace. They have a peace agreement with the Kurds, and are doing a new autonomous region out there for them. They're working together and fighting the remaining elements of Daesh. It's over. They lost. Bye-bye. They've lost. Objectively lost. The Syrian people have decided their fate. Fuck off. Y'all lost in Iraq? Look, Iraq's already starting to pull away politically from the U.S. Fuck off. You lost. Iran doesn't want you there. You lost in Korea. Fuck off. You lost in Vietnam. Fuck off. People don't want you, Yankee. Go home.
I agree.